Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you my new bread machine that I ordered off of Amazon. This is a loaf that I made yesterday of French bread in it. Once this video is over, if you are interested in ordering this exact machine, I will put the link to that in the description box down below. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you go through that link, it will earn me a small commission. It's no extra cost to you. It just helps out my channel. Also, when I bought mine, I found a promo code for it on a website called VPOM. I will check and see if that promo code is still available and if it's still working. If it is, I will also post that down below. If it is still working, then that will give you a pretty steep discount as well. So right now I'm going to go ahead and get into showing you the machine itself, and then I will walk you through the process of making a loaf of bread with it. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you my new bread machine that I ordered off of Amazon. This is a loaf that I made yesterday of French bread in it. Once this video is over, if you are interested in ordering this exact machine, I will put the link to that in the description box down below. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you go through that link, it will earn me a small commission. It's no extra cost to you. It just helps out my channel. Also, when I bought mine, I found a promo code for it on a website called VPOM. I will check and see if that promo code is still available and if it's still working. If it is, I will also post that down below. If it is still working, then that will give you a pretty steep discount as well. So right now I'm going to go ahead and get into showing you the machine itself, and then I will walk you through the process of making a loaf of bread with it. Hello. So I'm sure I'm probably going to butcher the brand name. It's either Aulier or Aulier, something like that. But this is a 2-pound capacity, so you will see right down here on the screen, might be kind of hard, there's 700 grams and then you have 900 grams listed. This is a 1-pound loaf. This is your 2-pound loaf. Has 3 different settings for how dark you want the crust on the outside, and then you get 14 different preset settings. So there's a basic bread, French bread, whole wheat, quick breads, like banana breads and things like that. Then you have sweet breads, gluten-free setting for if you need gluten-free bread. This dough setting is literally just like it sounds. It will just mix up your dough for you and save you from having to knead it by hand. Then there is the kneading setting, if that's all that you wanted done, or if you needed some extra kneading, like you had already mixed up your own dough, but you just don't feel like kneading it on the counter. You can pre-make your dough outside of the machine and then just throw it in there and knead it. There is a sandwich bread, specialty breads. You can make jam in this machine. You can make yogurt in it. There is just the bake setting, so if you did all of the mixing of the dough and the kneading and everything outside, or there also is instructions in this little book if you bake a cake, like a loaf cake in here. All you do is pour your batter and then you put your bake setting on. And then this little setting right here for homemade is completely customizable. It tells you all that in the book. You would mix up your 1 or 2 pound amount of ingredients while you put them in here, but find a recipe that will make a 1 or 2 pound loaf of bread. You would put all of your ingredients in here following the instructions, and you can actually go in and completely set the color, the time that you want it to knead, the time that you want it to rise, and how long you want it to bake, all manually yourself. So if you didn't want to use one of their preset settings, you can completely do a loaf on your own, which I really liked. And then in your book here, it gives you a recipe for each of the different types of bread that are preset, but of course you can use your own recipes also. I made the French bread recipe yesterday. I just did the 1-pound loaf, and if you look on here, it'll tell you this is your 1 pound. On the other side where it says 900 grams and goes down, that is your 2-pound loaf. Today I'm going to be doing just the basic bread. I'm going to do another 1-pound loaf. because homemade bread is so much better the first day that it's actually made. And our weather is really cold here in Missouri right now. We'd had like some days up in the 90s, and now all of a sudden we're down to like 50s today. So it feels like it is freezing, and there is nothing better than homemade warm slice of bread on a cold day. And I probably will make some sort of pot of soup to go with this. So we're going to jump into throwing this recipe together. Now it does tell you also in here, there is a right here, the specific adding sequence. So all of your liquid ingredients go in first, then any sugar and salt that you have to put in, because it says in here that you should never let the yeast contact the salt before your dough is being mixed. So what happens is you do all of your liquid ingredients and eggs, all that, then like your seasonings such as salt, sugar, whatever spices you're putting in, then your flour goes in, and then your yeast goes on top of that. So the yeast should always be the last thing that gets put in. So that is one thing to keep in mind whenever you're using this bread machine. I'm not sure if others are like this. This is the only one that I've had. But we are going to follow the instructions to the T, because that's what I did yesterday, and the bread turned out wonderfully. So the accessories that come with your machine, you have, of course, your bread pan that goes inside, has a little handle to help you lift it out. It comes with a plastic measuring cup, and it's going to be really hard to see the measurements on camera because it is a clear cup. I guess that's not helping, but you do have your measurements on there, both metric and imperial. Then you get a little measuring spoon, so one side is your teaspoon, one side is tablespoon. A dough hook, so if you are using this just to knead your dough and mix it, and you're not going to bake bread in there, say you're making like dinner rolls or something, this is to help you get a hold of that ball of dough and pull it out. And then you have your kneading blade, which goes, if you can see, there's a little post in there. This just slides down right over top of that. And one side of it, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but one side is like flat and then one is round, so that just coincides with where it's flat on that little post. And it just goes in. Now when you put the bread pan into this machine, it slides on. Here, I will show you. So there's like a little, almost what looks like in the bottom of your blenders. You put it on that, and then you twist it to the right, and it will lock into place. So now it does not move, and whenever your bread is done, you want to take it out. You take a hot oven mitt. Don't ever grab it with just your bare hands. And then you just twist it, it unlocks, and then that is how you pull it out to release your loaf of bread from the pan itself. So I'm going to put my ingredients in here first and then put my pan in the machine, because I don't want to dump like oil or something down onto the heating element that's in the machine itself. So our recipe calls for 280 milliliters of water, it says. So if you look on here, this is our milliliters. Otherwise, you can use a measuring cup that's a little easier to see. I know my Pyrex measuring cups, the glass ones, they have milliliters marked on them also. Okay, so liquid ingredients first. There is the water. Now it does not specify in the cookbook hot or cold water. However, if you use warm water, it will just help the rise kick off a little bit faster and hopefully lead to less issues with your bread rising like it's supposed to. Next, we have 2 tablespoons of oil. And for oil and regular sandwich bread, you can use any kind of clear oil. I'm using vegetable oil, but you could use like avocado oil, maybe sunflower oil, whatever you wanted to put in there. right, then it says 1 teaspoon of salt. So I have just regular table salt. For this, I would say probably there would be no issue if you substituted like pink Himalayan salt or a different kind of salt for this. Okay, then we have some sugar in this recipe, 2 tablespoons of sugar in the basic bread recipe. Okay, now it calls for 3 cups of bread flour. I don't have my regular Pillsbury bread flour over here. I'm not using it. But you can buy actual bags of what say bread flour on them. I am going to be using this, which is Wheat Montana. This is their unbleached flour. It's unbleached and unbrominated. I actually ordered this online, and the reason I got it is because I am gluten intolerant, and I have been paying like $7 a loaf for Canyon Bakehouse gluten-free bread, which takes a little chunk of my soul with it every time I have to pay for it. And I actually was reading a comment thread the other day where someone had mentioned that they had traveled overseas to Europe, and I believe they were in Italy, because she said that she ate pasta and bread and their pastries and everything. Did not order gluten-free, just got the regular stuff, but had no issues with their bread products, whereas here in America, she was having problems with it. And someone from over in Europe actually commented and said that it's probably not the gluten that was causing her so much stomach issue. It was the bromate that they put in our flour, which is the bleaching agent. They can bleach them either with chlorine bleach or with bromate bleach. And it's actually the chemicals that are in the flour that were causing the problems whenever she was eating. They thought that it was gluten, and really it wasn't. It was just the bleaching agent. So I decided to get this unbleached, unbrominated flour to give it a try. I did eat some of that bread that I made yesterday and did not have any really bad indigestion, didn't mess with my acid reflux, and I didn't have any issues so far. I did only have 1 piece, so I don't want to get my hopes up too high just yet, but I am going to continue trying to use this and see if it helps a little bit to ease those symptoms. If I can just buy unbleached flour and be able to get the regular flour versus paying $13 or $15 for a bag of the gluten-free like almond flour and stuff, or paying $7 for one of their loaves of bread, I would much rather do this. Excuse me. I would much rather do this because I like homemade food a lot better. It's better for you, and there's less preservatives and other things in it. But if you are someone who is gluten intolerant, that is something that you might want to keep in mind. It may not actually be the gluten. It might just be the chemicals that are in our flour here in America. Try unbleached flour and see if you're able to tolerate it. If you are, it could put a few more foods back on the menu for you. So for this flour and this recipe, it calls for 3 cups. This little measuring cup is exactly 1 cup to the top. There's 1. All right, so that was our 3 cups of flour. This is what it looks like down in the little pan. So the last ingredient that we add is the yeast. We need 1 teaspoon of that, and it says to take your finger and make a small well in the flour to put that yeast in. So that's what I'm gonna do. And this yeast is already opened. I opened it yesterday, but this is the Bella Rise yeast from Sam's Club. Here is the other bag. It comes in a 2-pack of these 1-pound bags for like $5. I think it's $4.90 something. So I just opened one of them yesterday. Doesn't really matter what brand of yeast you use, but you do want to use like the instant yeast. I don't know if you would want to use the little rapid rise packs for something like this. I think you should just use the regular. So 1 teaspoon of that right into that well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this down into the machine. And then twist it to lock it into place. Okay, so when you first plug in the machine, it will come on and it has set at 3 hours. This is where you would go in if you want to do your own thing. You would hit the menu button, go over to Homemade, or go to Cycle, and you would type in all of your own settings if you're doing your own bread. However, I'm going to do their preset basic bread, which is up here. So is menu option number 1. We are already set at number 1, and you'll see when you push the menu button, each setting has its own preset time for how long it needs to run. We're going to do number 1, and then you can select, do you want light crust, medium crust, or dark crust? And to do that, you hit the color button. So if I moved it over, it would be dark. There is light. I'm going to keep mine on medium because I like that. And then right now we're set at a 2-pound loaf because it's pointing to the 900 grams. So you go to where it says loaf to change the size. We're only going to make a 1-pound loaf. And then all we have to do, everything is already set now to where we want it. All you got to do is push the start button. It's going to be kind of dark, but you can see the flour already being mixed around in there. And down here it says knead 1. It will cycle through, it will knead once, then it will say rise 1, then it will say knead 2, and then rise 2, and then it will say rise 3, and then it will switch to bake. So this machine will do everything that you need it to do on its own. It goes through all of those cycles. You never have to hit any more buttons or anything. And once it is done baking, it will automatically kick into a 1-hour keep warm mode. So I will come back whenever it switches to the next mode to show you guys what it looks like. And then I will show you each step after that as the machine goes through, and then what it looks like once it's finished baking and how to get your loaf out. And I did forget to mention that this does also, where it says time, there is a delay timer. So if you wanted to have fresh bread when you wake up in the morning, you could put your ingredients in before you go to bed, set that delayed timer, and then this will cook and be done whenever you wake up. The only thing, if you use that setting, you don't want to make a bread that requires eggs or anything else that needs to be temperature controlled that might go bad. Also, once this finishes its second kneading phase, or during the second kneading phase, you'll hear 10 beeps go off. That lets you know if you're making like sweetbreads or specialty breads and you wanted to add like raisins or cranberries or something else to it during the kneading phase, you would add it then. raise the lid up, throw your raisins, whatever you're putting in there, close the lid back, it will finish its kneading, and then it will bake. So that I thought was also nice, where it gives you that little bit of time to throw in something without having to completely stop the machine and then try to reset all of the settings. Okay, so on this setting, it kneaded for about, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I think. So now you can see it says it is on rise number 1. So I will come back and show you whenever it switches again. There's a lot of steam on the top, so it's hard to see through, but the dough is now formed into a nice ball. Alright, so it has switched. You can see it's reading now knead number 2 at the bottom. This is how much time is left for the entire sequence. So this timer that runs is for the entire process. That's the mixing, the kneading, the rising, and the baking time. So in 2 hours and 18 minutes, we will have a completely finished loaf of bread. Okay, we're switched over to rise number 2, right down here. The next thing it will switch to will say rise 3, and then it will say bake. Okay, so we are now on rise 3. You can see right here, it's been on it for a few minutes. I was eating lunch, so I didn't get here right whenever it switched over. But it says we have an hour and a half left, so during that hour and a half, it'll complete the 3rd rise and bake completely. So I will show you whenever it switches to the bake setting. Don't know if you can see. No, it's going to be too dark in here. It has the viewing window on there. The only thing that is troublesome is that it does get some humidity on that viewing window, so it is kind of hard to see inside. Okay, so it has been baking for about 10 minutes or so now. You can see down on the screen it says bake. And if I bring you up over the top here, you can actually see the bread down inside through the viewing window. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear, but it is beeping. It just stopped the baking process, and now you can see it says keep warm down here, and over here it's on a 1. It has 1 hour that it will keep it warm. We're going to go ahead and pull it out though, that way you guys can see what it looks like. So I'm going to hit the stop button that resets the machine. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it from the wall. Slide it out a little. I'm going to open the lid on it. So this is what the bread looks like down inside. Alright, so I'm going to grab an oven mitt and pull this out. And the way we do that is to grab that little handle that's back there, twist it to unlock it, and then that just lifts right out of there. So now you can see the bread up a little bit closer. And we're going to jimmy this out of the pan here in just a second. Okay, so I just put down a little towel to put this on. And what I'm going to do is just kind of shake this a little bit. And out comes the bread. So this is what it looks like when it's all finished. That was just the 1 pound loaf that we made. course the cat has to see what's going on. So if you make a 2-pound loaf, it will be a little bit bigger. But that is the whole process of making the bread in the bread machine from start to finish. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and a like so other people can watch as well. Let me know down in the comments below if you have a bread machine or if you are going to be getting a bread machine to make homemade bread at home. And I will see you guys in the next one. So I did check the promo code that I used when I bought this machine. It is no longer good anymore. However, the regular price of this item has dropped and it is actually now lower at the regular price than what I paid for it with the coupon. So if you are interested in getting this and you have the extra money, I would jump on it now while the price is low. But the link to that item is in the description box below. I can't talk. And I will see you guys in my next video. If you don't want the machine that's on there, feel free to just pan through Amazon. There might be one that has a bigger capacity or one that has more settings that will work for you. This is just the machine that I went with because it's going to work for my family. We only have 3 people in my family. And a 2-pound loaf of bread is going to be good for us. I think they do go up to a 3-pound, and some of them have up to like 16 settings. This one is 14. So don't feel like you need to only go with one that's made just like this. Feel free to browse around. But I will see you guys in our next one.